In this video, we're going to take a look at how we can set up a player and how we can code his movement. At the end of this video, you will have a player that can move around, animated, go in the right direction by changing its rotation. He's going to be able to jump, and we're going to have the camera that's going to follow him. In the third video, we're going to create a camera that we can rotate around our player. We're not going to do that in this video, but we're going to do that in the next video. If you're discovering this series of videos by this video, I have put the link of the asset that is free to use on my itch.io, so the link is in the description. And as you are in the description, also go and take a look at my game Lone Knight that is available for wishlist on Steam. It will be released in 2024 and it's made with Godot 4.1. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and let's start coding now. So now let's import our player. So we already have imported our scene. We have everything here in our document Blender. That's what we have done at the beginning of this video. And so now I can go into my blend file right here, and I can get, for example, my player that is right there. It's not, you don't have to drag it like you do in Unity. What you can do in Godot, what you need to do is to right click on it. And here you're gonna go here to new inherited scene. This is going to import our model right here, and you can see that my model is right there. I can have access to his animation player, and for example, I can go to my idle, and here I can play my animation. You can see that the hat is not moving, but on my Blender file it is working. This is normal, I've made it on purpose because I want to make some animation with that hat further on, and so that's going to also help me to show you one way to parent an object in Godot directly. For now, we have like problem with that. For example, here I can't put that animation on loop. Also, the player node that we have right here is not the right one. Here we need to change the type of node that we are using. We are not using a node 3D, we want to use a character body 3D. So here what I can do is I can right click, I can go here to change type, and here I'm going to look for character body 3D. Character body 3D, if you're coming from Unity, that's the equivalent of the rigid body. And so that's a node that we are using for moving objects, like for example the player or enemy or other type of object like this. So I'm going to click on change. And now the icon on the right, on the left has changed. And also we have a warning. It asks us to create a collision shape. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click on the plus, and I'm going to look for a collision shape. I'm going to take a collision shape 3D like this, and I'm going to click on create. And what I'm going to do now is, because I have those two viewports, remember that for having those two viewports, I've clicked on view and here to viewport alt. Now I can just align my camera a bit like this. And what I can do here on my collision shape is I can click on my collision shape, go to the right. We can see that shape is empty, so I'm going to click on empty, and I'm going to add a new capsule shape. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to just drag that gizmo here to the top, and I'm going to use that camera here to make sure that the collision shape is aligning with the feet of my player. So it's going to be around here, something like that. It seems about right to me. So now I can just adjust a little bit my player. I think I can just shrink that a little bit like this, and that will be good enough for our game. So now we're good. So now what we can do is I can, for example, save my scene. So I can click Ctrl S, and I'm going to get out of my level folder here just by clicking on that arrow here, and I'm going to go to create folder, and I'm going to create a new folder that I'm going to call scene. Scene in Godot are the equivalent of prefab if you're coming from Unity. And so here what I'm going to do, and I'm going to save my player scene right there. So I'm going to click on save, and it saves my player naturally. So now if I go to my animation player, can I put my animation idle on loop? You can see that now I can. And for example, now it plays, but it plays weirdly because my animation is a bit bigger than this one. So my animation is around like 1 second, even more. And that's not something that we want to do. So here I can do Ctrl Z. I can just remove that. I just need to click 2 times. And what I can do is I can go to my player blend right here, and I can double click on it. It's gonna just open the pre-import setting of my animation, of my blend file. And I can go here to the animation player and idle, for example. I can go to loop mode, and I can change it from none to linear. And I can put save to file enable. I can do the same for walk. I can go to none, linear, enabled. And I can, for the jump and the sword, I can leave it like this. So now I can re-import. It's gonna re-import everything. it takes a little bit of time depending what you do. Voila. And so now I can go back to my, so for example, T-pose. I can go back to my animation right here, and I can just change the value of my scene. So here I'm gonna put 1.6, for example, like this. Voila. And so, for example, this is one way that we can use for like re-importing things. So here now I'm just gonna make sure that my animation are the right length. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go to walk. Walk normally is supposed to be on 1, so I'm gonna go on 1 like this. I'm gonna make it loop like that. And so let's have a look. And so my animation loops nicely. I'm gonna go to jump. Jump, same stuff, it's supposed to be on 1, so we're gonna also check like this. I'm gonna put it on loop just to make sure. Yeah, it works, that's fine. And my sword animation is right there. So let's have a look. Voila, so that's good. So we have everything set up now for our player. Now what we need to do is we need to focus on the hat. For that, what we need to do is we need to reparent our hat to the skeleton of our player. So my skeleton is right here, and you can see to the right I have all the bone that I've created in Blender. And so here what is missing is like we need to reparent our hat to the bone of the head of our player. So for that, what I can do is I can click on my skeleton 3D, I can click on the plus, and here I can look for something that's called bone attachment like this. And that bone attachment, you can see that there's a warning. It says that this is not bound to any bone. Please select a bone to attach this node. So while having bone attachment 3D selected, I can go here to the right and I have bone name, and I can click here and I'm gonna attach the hat to the head of my player, so the head bone. Like this. And so now I have my head bone that is set up properly. So now let's have a look. Let's see if my animation sword works. You can see it's still not working well, and this is normal because we need to take our hat and we need to attach it to our bone attachment. And so now it's gonna work, as you can see. And so we can check the other animations, for example idle. And now I have my hat that is working perfectly. Let's go to walk. You can see that the hat is working perfectly. So that's good. So we have reparent that. So now what we can do is we can start to code our player movement. So for moving our player, we need to attach a script to it. So we're gonna select our player here and we're gonna click on that icon right there, click on plus, and we're gonna make sure that it inherits character body 3D because this is the class that we want to use for moving our character. And a template node, I'm gonna just leave it on default. And what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna click here on that icon and I'm gonna save my script into a new folder that I'm gonna call script. I am incredibly creative. And that player script, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click again on create folder, and I'm gonna create another folder inside my script folder. I'm gonna create player, just in case I have potentially several scripts that are related to my player. It's better organized this way. So I'm gonna click on open, and here I'm gonna click on create. And so now I have my code editor that opens. I'm gonna close the animation tab by clicking on animation. And so now here I need to create some variable. So the first variable that I need to create is a speed. So for that I'm gonna tap var speed, and I'm gonna set it to be equal to 5.0 per default. When you are working in 3D, it's very important to use float, not integer, when you want to change like the velocity of your player. Now what we're gonna create is we're gonna create a jump velocity. So I'm gonna call it jump underscore velocity, and I'm gonna set that jump velocity to be equal to 4.5. Then I'm gonna create another variable. I'm gonna call it gravity, and I'm gonna set it equal to something like 15.0. And then I'm gonna create another variable that I'm gonna call angular underscore speed, and I'm gonna set it equal to 10.0. This angular speed, that's what we're gonna use for the rotation. So here I can just like make some space. I can put a hashtag like this. That's how you make a comment in Godot. And here I can say this is for the rotation of my player. We're gonna use that to rotate the player when we are changing direction. So now I'm going to change the process that we have here with another function. So I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to type func underscore physic process delta. When you are dealing with character body 3D, it's important to use physic process delta because we are applying physic to our player. So process is a function that is built in Godot that checks 60 frames per second objects that are not automatically physics related, and physic process is a function that is also checking 60 frames per second what's in that function, but it is for objects that are physics related, like it's the case for the character body 3D. So now we have done that. Here, what I can do is, for now, I can pass. And what I'm going to do is, like, I'm going to create a function. I'm going to call it move. So I'm going to create function. I'm going to create move. I'm going to pass delta as a parameter. And here, I'm going to just put a colon, and that's where I'm going to create the logic of my player. So here, I'm going to first create a variable, and that variable is going to be a variable that I'm going to call movement. And I'm going to set it equal to input with a capital I dot get underscore vector. This is a built-in function in Godot that helps you to just get the vector of getting the input of your that you're using. For example, if you're using like your keyboard, you're gonna get the vector. You're gonna assign that to the vector. And here the order matters. So what you need to do here is first you need to open quote and you type UI underscore left. This is built-in input that we have in Godot. Then you put a colon. And here you're going to open again quote UI underscore right. Then you put a comma like this. Then you open again the quote UI underscore up. And then you get out of it, comma. And then you're going to put UI underscore down like this. So now we have the possibility to get the vector for our player. But now we need to assign a direction because we need to make sure that we are going in the right direction. So here we can create another variable and we're going to call it var direction. And here we're going to set it equal to little calculation. So we're going to open a parenthesis and we're going to get the transform here dot basis, and we're going to multiply it by a vector 3 because we are in 3D. And that vector 3, I'm going to assign it to the movement function that I've created here. So here between the first parenthesis, I'm going to tap movement.x. I'm going to leave this one on 0, and then I'm going to tap movement.y. Then I'm going to get out of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap dot normalize. This will make sure that we don't apply our force 2 times when we are going in diagonal. Now that we have done that, what we can do is we can check if we are changing direction. For doing so, I can just make an if statement right here, and that if statement is going to be if direction. So if we are changing direction, what we want to do is we want to reset the velocity.x to be equal to direction.x time speed. And we want to do the same for our velocity.z. We want to say direction.z, and then multiply it with our speed. And we also want to check when we are not pressing any key. So for that, we need to tap else. And here we're going to say, if it's the case, velocity.x is equal to move underscore toward, like this. And that move toward going to take velocity.x, we're going to put comma 0, and then we're going to put our speed. And so this will make the linear triangulation from the speed that we were coming from and from going to our speed to 0, if that makes sense. And we're going to do the exact same thing for our velocity.z. So here I'm just going to do Control C, and I'm going to do Control V, and I'm just going to change the x here for z, and here I'm going to change the x here for z. And so now there's one last thing that we are missing that make the code not work if we are not using it, which is a built-in function in character body 3D, our class that we are using right here. And that built-in function is called move and slide. Move and slide. And so with that done, now it will work. So we only have to save our scene, and we need to go here to our physics process delta and remove our pass, and we can put our move delta function. We just need to pass the delta between parentheses because we are using the delta right here. So now let's have a look. I'm saving all of this. I'm going to go back to my main level. I'm going to go here to 3D. I'm going to go to my main level right here. I'm going to go here to that button. That's the button that we use for instancing a scene directly in our scene. So I can just go here, click on that, and I'm going to look for my player TSCN, not the GLB or the blend one, like the TSCN scene that we have created. Click on open. It's going to open our player. We're going to bring our player right here. And so I can just like move my player a bit up like that. And so now let's see if we can move him. So I'm going to go here, launch my game. And now I can move it. If I move like this, you can see that it moves perfectly. That's good. So we have the basic here for the movement of our player. We have like two things that miss, actually three things that miss. The first one is that there's no gravity applied to my player, so he floats in the air. We're gonna change that. We need to animate it. We're gonna also change that. And we need, when we are changing direction like this, we want to change the rotation of the player. So that's what we're gonna do now. So here I'm gonna go back to my script by clicking on my script icon right here. I'm gonna close the output. And so here basically what is missing is first the gravity. So the gravity, I'm gonna go to my physics process delta, and I'm just gonna say if not is underscore on floor. This is a built-in function that checks if an object is on the floor or not. Then I can just say velocity dot y minus equal gravity time delta. So this will make things work. So already I can just save, and I can just launch my game and see if it works or not. Because our character per default is not on the floor. So let's see if the gravity is applied when he's not on the floor. Voila, so now he's on the floor and he can continue to move and those kind of things. Perfect. So now what we need to do is we need to change the rotation of our player when he is moving, changing direction. For that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create two new variable. So here I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna tap at onReady var, and that onReady var I'm gonna call it player underscore body. And I'm gonna set it to be equal to the root node right here of my player. So for that, for getting that path of that specific node here, what I can do is I can tap $, root, like this. And so this will get the root, and we're not gonna rotate that node right here, we're gonna rotate that node right there. And so now that we have done that, what we can do is like we can go back to our if direction statement. And what I can do here is like I can take my player body variable that I've just created right here, and I can just do dot rotation dot y, and here I can set it equal to a lerp underscore angle, which is a built-in function in Godot that helps us to like do our thing here. So it's gonna be player underscore body dot rotation dot y. Then I'm gonna put a comma. I'm gonna use a function that is called attend_to. I'm gonna explain you what it is soon. That attend_to gonna take two parameters, velocity.x, and then I put a comma, and velocity.z. Then we're gonna get out of the first parenthesis, we're gonna put a comma, and we're gonna take the delta and we're gonna multiply it by our angular speed that we have created at the beginning when we are creating our script, So now I can just like put that like this. I can close the output so you have a better vision of the code. So here I'm gonna just show you first what it is, lerp angle and attend_to. So we can go to help, search help, and here I can tap, for example, lerp angle. and I have a definition of my function. So here, lerp angle linearly interpolate between two angles in radians by a weight value between 0 and 1. That's what we are using when we are changing our lerp angle here. We are taking the player.rotation, and then we are taking our attend2. And if I go to search help, I can put attend2. And here I can just click on open, and it returns the arctangent of yx in radian. Used to get the angle of tangent. To compute the value, the method takes into account the sign of both arguments in order to determine the quadrant. So here we are just, when we are using attend2, we are making a simple calculation, taking our velocity.x and our velocity.z, and then we apply the rotation with lerp angle. And here I've just created that variable here, angular speed. So like this, we can have a smooth rotation when we are changing our angle. So now I can launch the game, and you're gonna see that when I'm changing direction, I'm gonna rotate smoothly toward that direction. So here, for example, I go down, but if I go right, you can see that now my player move up, left, down, like this, and it works in every situation like that. So now we have one last thing to do, which is calling our animation. So my player here has an animation player, and that's that animation player node that is taking all the work of displaying the right animation. If I go to idle, you can see I have my idle animation that display like this. Remember that I've changed the length. That idle animation is 1.6. So if you have like something that is like a bit different, it's probably because you haven't changed that value right here. And so now what I can do is, like in the script, I can get access to that animation player by tapping under my root stuff. I'm gonna tap @onReady, var, I can't type, and that var, I'm gonna call it anim, and I'm gonna set it equal to $sign animation player. And so now I'm gonna have access to my animation player. So here, I want to change my animation when I'm moving and when I am not moving. So I'm gonna go in on if direction, and if I'm moving, then what I want to do is I just want to say anim.play, and here I can just take my walk animation. For me, it's named toWalk. And then here, when we are not moving, I can just say anim.play, and then here I can just tap, for example, idle, like this. So now with that done, we're gonna be able to launch our game, and we're gonna have our player that moves and that is rotating and that is animated. So let's go. Now you can see my player move. When I stop, it doesn't move anymore, but we still have the idle animation, and that's perfect. We can add two last things. The thing that we can add is we can add a jump if we want to. I'm gonna do that right now. So I'm gonna go before my if direction. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make another if statement, and I'm gonna say if input with a capital I is action, just press. And here we're gonna take a look at UI accept. And we're gonna say end is on floor. So like this, it's gonna prevent our player to be able to jump even when it is not on the floor. Then what we want to change here is just the velocity. The velocity.y, we're gonna change it to be equal to jump underscore velocity, like this. So let's have a look. I can launch the game once it's done saving. I can click on the space bar and I can jump. And if I spam, you can see that I can't jump indefinitely. So that's good. So now we have one last thing to do, which is the camera. In the next video, we're gonna make a system to rotate the camera. But for now, I just want to reparent the camera to the player. So like this, we will have like, we will be able to move with our player. So for that, I'm just gonna change my camera position. So I'm just gonna go out like this. I'm gonna put it a bit closer to my player, something like this, and I'm gonna rotate a bit. I'm gonna rotate a bit the rotation like that. I'm gonna advance it like this, and now I'm just gonna take it, and for now I'm gonna reparent it. But in the next video we're gonna make a rotation for that. And so now it's just gonna follow our player where it goes. So I'm gonna show you. So now I'm gonna get closer to the edge of the ground, and you can see that it follows us. And so then in the next video, we're gonna take a look at how we can rotate the camera. Then we're gonna make sure that we can jump and have the right animation properly set. And then we're gonna also have sword animation and those kind of things. That's what we're gonna do in the next video. That's it for me. I hope this video has been helpful for you. If it's the case, don't hesitate to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also go and check my game Lone Knight. It is available for wishlist on Steam. It will be released next year, and that will be very appreciated if you give it a wishlist. And me, I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!